and gentlemen, we are back, baby. It's Don't At Me with Michael and Alex live via Zoom studios. And today we have a wonderful guest joining us. Throwback to 3, 4, 5 years ago when Michael and I were working on this small little app known as Sports Me. We will redcon that. And we managed to meet a man on that application who would later be known as the king of NBA impersonations. And that is the Kid Gowie. Da Kid Gowie joins us today in studio, live on Zoom. Gowie, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, I'm feeling great. And I love that introduction because, you know, I do pride myself on what I bring to the table as far as this NBA comedy lane. So respect to you guys.
Oh, my God. Michael, before we get into it, let's let the people know who this man actually is. He's the king of NBA impersonations. He has a show right now called The Checkup, which is available right now on Blue Wire Podcast, as well as killing it on the NBA social scene. And let's not forget, not influencer, creator, content creator.
So shout out to our guy, man, because he has the show. And the show is with our girl Joy, who was a one-time guest of the show, the friend of the show. First of all, how is it to work with Joy? I know her, and you got B-Dot on there. That can be pretty challenging, man. You got to give me your takes on that.
Hey, so first and foremost, I love working with Joy because, like, I just feel like her personality is always hilarious. So, like, I know what to say to kind of just trigger her, and I know what not to say if I don't want to trigger her. Like if I just want to amplify things up, I could just boom, and I know she's going to react to it every single time. But as far as like her knowledge and stuff like that, she's a very knowledgeable person. She stands on her takes. I feel like she can debate with the best of them. She can't beat me though, but you know she can debate with the best of them.
I feel the same.
Yep.
So yeah, big shout out to Joy.
Hey, can I throw you one line from our show that we did? Michael is going to know it too.
Oh, yeah.
So Joy had a moment where she told us that this year being, you know, the Wizards might be the most, how should I put it? How did she say? This is the most talented roster that Russell Westbrook has played with, to which Michael and I both looked at each other from across the table wondering, is she stoned? Did she have a couple drinks before this show? Like, do you not remember Kevin Durant? Do you not remember James Harden, Steven Adams, Andre Roberson even?
You got to remember that when it comes to Russ, that's my guy. You know, guy I've been knowing since I was a kid. She has a certain type of love for him. Like, he's Superman. So I'll be like, hey, it's all love. It's my guy, so I can respect it. I know she was excited when he had that crazy 35, 20, and 10 game. So shout out to Joy, man. Y'all do a great job with your show with B-Dot. Y'all be killing it, man. So you're great. You do a lot of great work with the parody videos. How did it come about you getting all of that started?
It's funny because I've been doing a lot of this stuff way before like the LeBron James challenge blew up, because the LeBron James challenge was the video that brought eyes onto me. But like as far as creating content, I've been creating content since 2012. So I had like LeBron parodies on Vine, and people never knew about them because I wasn't popular on Vine at that time. So that's why when, you know, there's certain things people will look at you be like, oh, you're copying this person or you're copying this person. It's like, I've been doing these things. You didn't know about me. I wasn't in the public eye. But yeah, it's really just, I saw a lot of guys on YouTube, a lot of guys that I was inspired by, like Hot Damn I Rock. He's a guy from Baltimore, also known as Kane Carter. You had
hysterical.
Dormtainment. Who else? I can't think. Kevin Edwards Jr. Like, these guys were people that I actually looked up to, and I was like, bro, I can do what they're doing, because I have the personality for it. I can tell jokes, different things like that. So I decided to do things, and yeah, I've been posting content since 2012.
All right, so I have to know, has anyone brought up the best line from any of your parody videos ever, which was a PB&J should stop my hunger? I gotta know. Has anyone brought up the Thinking About You parody? That was 8 years ago. And then you had to accept you. Let me tell you something. I'm inspired. This man has an acceptance speech video for getting 1,000K followers on YouTube. Like, that is legendary.
Man,
so you make these parodies, people are starting to catch up onto the scene, and now you get to the LeBron James challenge. So you drop the video, walk us through that day. You drop the video, what happens from there?
All right. Well, first of all, we got to go back to the Think About You parody. And that lets you know how long ago I've been doing that. Because people, like I said, people think this stuff is new, but I've been doing it since 2012, 2014, like whatever date you popped up on the video. But I'm glad you pointed that out. And the acceptance speech for 1K, that lets you know like how generous I am as far as following goes and how I really started from the bottom and different things like that. But enough of that. The LeBron James challenge. It's funny this happened because I always feel like in life things come in full circle. Pretty much I went to a comedy club. I told my homeboy, I was like, yo, I'm about to do this stand-up comedy because we went to a comedy club and I was like, it just looks so easy. So at this time I'm working at a warehouse. I'm working 10-hour shifts. So I'm at the trailer, not really thinking about it, BSing. I'm just doing my job. And then I'm thinking in my mind, after work, I'm about to just hop off, go down to the comedy club, tell the jokes, get a whole bunch of laughter, go home and make it look easy. That's not how I turned out at all. I got to the club. I felt so confident. Everything was cool. We have the Kid Gowie. This is his first time. Everybody's clapping like, yeah. Da, da. Get on there. As soon as I get the mic and the light hit me, I froze. I literally froze. Yeah, B-Rabbit. Like Papa Doc. I choked on the stage, man. So I'm sitting up there and I'm like, damn. Like everybody's just looking at me. I'm literally in the spotlight and I have to make these people laugh. And I couldn't think of anything. Like nothing in my mind was clicking for me to just spit it out. So that's the first time I've ever felt that much pressure. And I was like, wow, this is really harder than what it is. So when I left the comedy club, I got on IG. I had like a little following at this time. And I'm talking to my followers through the IG stories. And I'm like, yo, I found out tonight that I'm not a stand-up comedian. And I was like, I'm not down on that, but I just know that I got to put more effort into social media comedy before I could jump to this. Yeah. And that was just kind of like my mindset. Now, a couple hours later, like not even 24 hours later, my homeboy had tagged me in a post and there was LeBron in the locker room and somebody impersonating him or something. And he tagged me in it. And I'm looking and I'm like, I mean, it's cool, but I don't really think it's that funny. And I don't know what it was. I was off that day. I already had a bald head because I had did a Tupac skit because All Eyes on Me had just came out, the movie. Yep. So I had did a Tupac skit right before that. So I had the bald head and I'm like, you know what? Let me just impersonate this video and see what happens. And I put it on Twitter and I was like, name somebody that has a more accurate LeBron James challenge than me. T Grizzly saw it, he retweeted it and was like, let's make this go viral, and boom, like everything went crazy after that.
No, yeah, that was just, it was just so hilarious because it was so spot on. I'm
like, my God, the facial expressions of
oh my God. That was iconic right there, man. You got any other things in the works right now that people don't know about? We can give them the first scoop.
I'm not sure what I'm allowed to speak on, but there are some things going on, some projects with the NBA themselves. Okay. So you might see my face pop up on their accounts. And that's huge because like I said, you know, everything comes in full circle. You grow up watching the NBA. Now I'm doing content for the NBA. So that would be dope. And that's a blessing, man. Most definitely.
Congratulations,
I never take
bro.
Any of that stuff for granted. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things you guys may have to just tune in and see what pops up, because you know I believe in I'm a not a stereotypical, what's it, superstitious person. So it's like superstitious, yeah. So I'm like, you know, I don't want to jinx anything, so let's just let it come into fruition.
Dope. So we talked to NBA. We got to talk about with everything. Me and Hans been going back and forth about it.
Oh God, we're gonna do this.
The super teams. Yeah. The Brooklyn Nets, after, you know, the buyout market, they were able to pick up Aldridge, Blake Griffin. My Lakers were able to pick up Andre Drummond to join AD and Brown once they get back healthy.
My Celtics got nothing.
Yes, which is deserving because they.
To be fair, I feel like Evan Fournier is a solid pickup. His first game just was trash.
We'll get to that. I covered his first game, 0 of 10. He was just not feeling comfortable. Every shot was getting back rimmed. It was never rolling out, never off. Back rimmed.
I'm gonna say it right here. I'm gonna say it right now. The Celtics will be the best 7th seed in this year's NBA playoffs. I'm
so excited to edit this episode so I can mute Michael out on that part. But
the best 7th
seriously.
Seed.
We have the super teams forming again, Los Angeles and Brooklyn. What are your thoughts on the buyout markets, if any? Are you okay with the super teams forming again? Do you like the moves being done? What are your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, it's crazy that you do say that the super teams are coming back, because it did seem like we finally got a balance once KD left Golden State. And I was like, okay, everybody's back to 2 stars now. Everybody's going to compete. And then boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh, hold on. Like we wasn't expecting this soon. Man. So as far as the buyout market, I'm still confused by it. Like, to be completely honest with you, I don't understand it. I don't understand, as a team, what benefit do you get from buying out players? Like, I know you pay them their money, you get them off your roster, but what do you gain from that? So you pretty much take a semi-valuable piece and you let them go to wherever they want. And of course, it could be a respect thing. Maybe like, oh, if you don't like it here, we'll just buy you out. So maybe if you want free agents to come there, they'll take that into consideration. But aside from that, I don't see the personal gain in that. I feel like it's a huge waste of money. And I'd much rather try to trade somebody and get what you can get versus just buying out a dude and paying him on the back end. So I think the buyout market is dumb, in my personal opinion. But as far as the players, speaking for the players, I think it's cool for them that they can pick their destination and, you know, chase a ring.
Yeah, and they get to control it. See, my guy Himes, he's giving us that face because he's mad. He's still like, they're creating these super teams. I'm like, this happened because it's the Bron era of basketball. The best player of an era usually dictates what happens in that era. And since he created the teams in 2010, 2011 with the Miami Heat, that's became the pattern. So KD went to Golden State. Bron eventually went back to Cleveland. It just became the pattern. And the fact that these guys doing it, it's already been set. And I just feel that Aldridge is 35 years old. He was averaging 13 points. So people are talking like this dude was the Portland guy that was killing your Rockets that year. And Blake Griffin hasn't looked like Blake Griffin since he went to Detroit. So they have every right to go and get a championship. Andre Drummond, 27 years old. There's a chance he can re-sign long-term with the Lakers. I love it. I think that is great. In the NBA, there's always the really good teams, and then you have the bad teams. It's always like that since the 80s, or maybe even before then. And they're just continuing it. Lakers, Brooklyn in the finals. I can't wait, baby.
See, that's exactly my issue right there, is the fact that we have an automatic presumption going now for the rest of the year and presumably next year that those are going to be the teams that we presumably see in the finals. The issue I have is that, Michael, it's okay. The issue that we have right now is the same issue we saw in 2013 when people started buying out and signing on to play with Miami Heat for basically a fourth of what their value was on the free agent market to any other organization. Blake Griffin, what does he do? He joins the Brooklyn Nets. We all think it's an afterthought because he doesn't look the same. What does he do in the second or first game that he's there? Dunks a basketball, which he hasn't done in 2 years. Shows you that he's not putting in all the effort in Detroit. And mind you, this is the same guy that's flying to and from Los Angeles to play for a team that he's on, not living in the same state. This is a guy that clearly doesn't want to be there, so he makes it known and gets his way out. Aldridge, don't get me wrong. He's in a better situation in San Antonio with a great coach in Popovich, and I'm sure there's nothing but respect and love there, right? But he clearly wasn't happy there, and they weren't doing anything for him. So, of course, play is going to diminish when your attitude towards the organization is not one that is conducive for winning. So he gets bought out. They both go to Brooklyn. My issue here is that these guys are way more valuable than their contracts signed for. The issue is that these guys are top players in the league still to some degree in comparison to a lot of other guys and can add value on any roster, right? But they are taking $1 million ostensibly, or the veterans minimum, which at one point we all knew was $1 million or less than that, and going for these organizations to ride the coattails to win the championship. And the issue is the same thing that we are experiencing in the economic gap. We are closing the middle class, right? Just as we are making the wealthier much smaller, but it's wealthier is wealthier, just as the poor class is larger and poorer. What's going on with the NBA? Those middle of the ground teams and also the small market teams are losing out on their chances to big name stars because they're going to the big market teams. And let's be realistic. Out of all the big market teams this year, all of us can agree we anticipate the Brooklyn Nets at least in the finals. At the bare minimum, the Philadelphia 76ers in the conference finals. And on the West, we anticipate the Lakers and the Clippers coming head to head, which puts Denver and Utah as the afterthoughts, Michael. And the issue is these small market teams aren't getting the representation. This is no longer basketball. To watch good basketball, we have to watch the NCAA, where we're seeing true team basketball play out and occur. Whereas in the NBA, it's now a star-driven league, which I'm all for player empowerment and being able to go where you want. But at least do it in a manner that keeps it fair and a level playing field for everyone in the league, so we can all enjoy basketball.
Hey,
it's about enjoying the game.
Himes, you know what I hear?
I swear to God, if you say the Celtics bias, look, listen to me. I'm going to end this stuff right now. I'm going to end it right now. There is no bias from me because I said the same thing. If the Celtics had it, I wouldn't like the situation. I don't want to watch a team.
Gowie, you got it. I don't want to hear that.
Win a title.
But hey, look, me and Hams are on the same similar wavelength, because I do agree with him to the degree of these I don't want to call them stars, but these players still have star-like value. We just saw Blake Griffin go for 17 points and catch an alley-oop from James Harden. So one of these things that it could definitely become a slippery slope, because players can really just mope around until they get bought out if they really don't want to be where they want to be. And then also, I want you guys to look back at last year's Los Angeles Lakers team. A lot of people just talked about these guys. Oh, Rajon Rondo's uncoachable. Dwight Howard, he's washed. Who else? Like, all these guys that they had were misfits. They put them on one team, they win a chip, and then everybody's talking about, oh, they're stacked. This ring doesn't count. This is like, bro, these are players y'all didn't want.
There's a double standard.
Yeah, these are guys you did not want. These guys were out the league. J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters were on their couch, and they brought them in, and then all of a sudden it's a problem because now their team is stacked. And it's like, to be honest with you, their only star power on the team was LeBron and AD. But do we know the value that a Dwight and Rajon Rondo in the playoffs can bring? Of course. But once again, you got to want these guys so the Lakers can't get them.
But there's a difference, though, in player talent between Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, who are realistically, let's put it like this, 3 to 4 years removed from at minimum minor all-star level potential, right? Or playing ability, right? There's a major difference between Danny Green, Jared Dudley, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and those two players alone that signed for the same organization. And I don't want to hear any more bias, Michael, because I love the game of basketball. If you really love the game of basketball, then you can understand what I'm talking about. There's a difference between loving NBA basketball and loving the game.
Basketball, yeah.
I can understand that. I just feel that those guys, they know their talent, and they know if Blake Griffin knew he was still the number one guy, he would not be joining on to play with KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. Same for Aldridge. The man is 35 years old. He was averaging 13 points this year. Like, he knows Blake Griffin, it wasn't his fault that they decided to, hey, sit down. We're going to try to trade you. If we can't trade you, we're going to buy you out. The same thing they did with Drummond. For the other teams, nobody wants to play in Cleveland. Nobody wants to play in these other cities because they have to live there also. And they want to win championships. I don't blame them for that. But poor teams and poor our guy Gowie, because he is a Rockets fan, everyone. And it has been a living hell being a Rockets fan. You go from Dwight and James and Chris Paul, injury from a title, Russ and James.
Let's not forget Chandler Parsons was in there too for like a 3-year stretch. And Ryan Anderson.
So, man, tell us, what's your thoughts, man? What's your thoughts on your Rockets, man? It's a tough situation right now.
To be honest with you, there's a lot of emotion when it comes to the Rockets. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of frustration. It's a lot of everything. It's a mixture of everything. I'm very optimistic because I love our young core. You have KPJ, you have Jayshawn Tate, you have Christian Wood, you have KJ Martin. I feel like these guys are very solid pieces to build with in the future. Obviously, if we get lucky and we're able to get a top seed a top pick in the draft, maybe we can make a play for Cade Cunningham, whether we trade some picks to move up or whatever the case may be. But that would be a solid acquisition. Kelly Olynyk, he's been looking pretty solid, but I don't know what his situation is going to be. But aside from that, things have been rough. Like I said, it's cool to have the optimism, but you got to look at the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is that the Rockets really failed with the James Harden trade. Yeah. A lot of fans are trying to put their optimism over the reality, but it's like, bro, at the same time, you got to walk away with something. Like the fact that when you look in complete perspective of what we got in that trade, we got Kelly Olynyk, a bunch of late draft picks from the Nets, a bunch of swaps that we probably won't use because we're probably going to have a worse record than Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, what did we get? We didn't get a player. Like Anthony Davis got traded and they got Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, a bunch of first round draft picks, which included the 4th overall pick in that year's draft.
Mhm.
And it's like, we're walking away with picks, but we're not walking away with a solid star like a Brandon Ingram or the OKC Thunder when they traded Paul George and got SGA. We don't have the SGA. We got lucky that Cleveland traded us KPJ, but aside from that, if it wasn't that, who would have been our guy for the future?
I feel they should have traded him in the offseason just to get it out the way, the same way they did Russ. It would have put him in a better position. But yeah, it just sucks for Stephen Silas because, man, you see a black coach get a job. There's not too many black coaches coaching. So you want to see the best for him. And the best that you can get out of Houston is when they throw in the throwback jerseys of the Clutch City days.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know, so it's
rough
there right now, man.
I can't imagine, you know, it seems like the best deal you guys made, if we're going to be quite frank, out of all the pieces, trading Victor Oladipo for Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, and a pick seemed like a better deal than the James Harden deal when you think about it, because that's what it ultimately netted. The Rockets are in a really rough situation. I feel for Rockets fans everywhere because it's a situation that you guys shouldn't be in. I agree with Mike Hill. The most value you would have acquired for James would have been in the offseason when things weren't rumbling. There wasn't pressure to get a deal done before a deadline or pressure to get a deal done by mid-season with another organization. They would have gotten more out of it. But I will note that one of the bright spots on your guys' roster is Kevin Porter Jr., who has been playing well since coming over from the fiasco that was Cleveland and also the nonsense that occurred between him and another player over a locker. I forget who it was right now, but he was on the Nets last year.
Woods is amazing before the injury.
Yes, Christian Wood, too, was very underrated and an underrated signing for the Rockets. I thought he would have played very well alongside James Harden. And it really stinks to see that one of the most deserving head coaches, right? He happens to be black, but Stephen Silas is also a very deserving head coach.
Yeah.
Is getting screwed on his first big debut with a big marquee organization. It's a blunder situation.
It really hurts. Like for me, it really hurts for Silas because like you saw how happy he was to come to Houston. So you saw, I'm gonna be working with Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and this, that, and like this is the idea that you have coming into a situation, and everything just gets taken away from you. Russ gets taken away, James Harden gets taken away, Christian Wood goes down, and then everybody starts to go down. John Wall, Victor Oladipo missing games, PJ Tucker missing games, and he never misses games. So like not only did we lose everybody, like we lost our star talent in trades, but we also lost our players due to the injury bug. And it's just all eyes on Silas, like, bro, like what's going on? And it's like, it's not him. And I just always felt like, I really hope this isn't a situation where, like I said, the optimism for the future is bright. So like, you know, like I said, KPJ, Christian Wood, Jayshawn Tate, I hope this isn't a situation where they replace him with somebody and then somebody comes in and reap the benefits of kind of what he somewhat built.
Started.
Mark
Jackson.
Oh,
exactly. And I don't want nothing like that. Like I don't want a situation like that, because if we see KPJ and Christian Wood becoming one of the best tandems or duos, whatever you want to call them in the NBA, then it's going to be like, oh, this coach, he took a team that was depleted, went on 20 straight losses. It's like, no, bro. Like we see the potential. Y'all just got to keep Silas in there to really give him a fair shot.
So that's what you got to hope for the long term, that they do that for the Rockets and just for that coach, man. He deserves it. So just tapping in on your social media, Gowie. I see that you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, so we gotta chime in a little bit on that. Me being a Chief fan, that's been the team that's like, damn, maybe Lamar might do something, but I know that Pat Mahomes is on another realm. What's your take on the Ravens, and like, what do you see going forward with them?
I think the Ravens are always in good shape as long as we have Lamar Jackson in our defense. Those two things are obviously key for us. I still feel like we have one of the best secondaries in football with Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, like these guys, Deshaun Elliott, he's very underrated. So yeah, I think that we have a lot of talent, but the problem is our offense. And you just got to add a little bit more balance to it. The run game's phenomenal, but the thing with Greg Roman is that he's never really been that good in the passing game. And it's like, bro, I've never seen an offensive coordinator get publicly called out by his wide receivers throughout the entire NFL season. Like, I think what the Baltimore Ravens are going to do in order to take that next step, obviously we have to continue to add depth to the receiving core. We added Sammy Watkins recently, which was a former Chief. You know, bring that over here. You feel me? But yeah, I think we definitely have to get somebody in the draft with at least one of the top 3 picks as far as wide receiver goes. We can't, with all due respect, I know rankings don't really matter in the draft, but they kind of do at the same time. Like, so it's kind of like, if you get you can't settle for a 5th overall pick, 5th round pick and all this other stuff. So we got to aim for top 3. Offensive line is important as well, because last year Lamar had a very hard season. And it's funny because a lot of people talk about Lamar, but it's like last season was a down season and his offensive line was not up to par, especially in pass protection. Run blocking, you know, we already know running's our thing, so we go and get that off by any means. But the pass blocking was very shaky with the injuries and the retirement of Marshall Yanda. So once again, bulking up that old line and getting protection for him will definitely be the next step in order to take us to the next level.
Yeah, and because I think the Ravens got to watch themselves. They can't get caught up like the Falcons did when they had the Vic run, because they ran great. You had Ward Dunn next to Vic, but then they wouldn't go crazy with receivers. I know they added Roddy White to go with like Brian Finnegan, Mike Jenkins and stuff like that. But you have to Algie Crumpler at tight end, but they never said, let's go give him the best of the best passing weapons so that he can really become a great passer. Because of course Mahomes is amazing, he's great. As a Chiefs fan, I know he brought us that Super Bowl after 50 years. He walked into weapons. Tyreek, you have Travis Kelce, you get Sammy Watkins, you have you end up drafting Mecole Hardman, you have DeMarcus Robinson, all these guys. I think that's what the Ravens have to do to make the game easier for him. You can I can go throw the ball if my guy is 10 yards open. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's what the Ravens, I think, have to do to help Lamar take that next step.
And I agree with you. I agree. I think that the receiving core is the big issue that needed to get addressed. Don't get me wrong. The O-line was a big issue that needed to get addressed. You know, injuries really, really hampered the Ravens in that regard. But overall, the one thing that I want to stress is that Lamar should have the option to run. Option, not be forced. He needs weapons. And to be quite frank, I was surprised that, don't get me wrong, I'm happy my Patriots went after all these weapons for Cam Newton, but these are guys that I figured that the Ravens would have taken calls on. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, even Bourne, trying to get some of these guys on their roster because that's what they needed. Outside of Hollywood Brown, he really doesn't have a go-to guy or at least any other viable option that we can name on a consistent basis that you can count on to get it down when necessary. So I was taken aback that they didn't focus on that going into free agency. And my thought process was, if they don't focus on it then they plan on accessing that whole pool in the draft. So if they're going to do that, they have to make the right moves. Like there is no, okay, let's try this guy now, because the trades and all the buyouts and all the free agents are basically all gone. You have to focus now on the draft or trading, so they have to make the right moves.
Hey, just letting y'all know, the word of the day for this episode is buyout. I heard Alex every time he's had him, and that word is just, it's amazing today.
I swear to God. I'm like Myers Leonard right now, saying things on a live stream that I shouldn't be saying. Buyout.
Man, that's crazy. Hey, so 17 games going to be played next year. Do y'all like that for the NFL? Gowie, you like that 17-game season? 17 games played.
I mean, 17 games, it works for us as fans. As an NFL player who takes, beatings every single week, I feel like it's kind of dumb. I don't think the extra game changes anything. Like, it doesn't change the course of anything. It's kind of just a money grab. Like, oh, we're going to add one more week so we can sell more tickets for one more, So I think it's stupid. But from a fan perspective, of course, we want more football. So I'm not tripping on it.
I get to see Patrick versus Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully they're both healthy. We couldn't get it a couple years ago, but I didn't like it because they complain about concussions and injuries and they want to give an extra game. I'm a fan of even numbers. So now it's going to be odd instead of 15-1. The Chiefs gonna have to go 16-1, and I kind of don't like that, but it is what it is. What's your take on that, Himes?
Look, to put it bluntly, I'm just upset that I can no longer see a 7-9 Dallas team every year. That's really what's upsetting.
Can't see them go 8-8, man.
Man, no, I want to see 7-9 from them, but I guess now I can't even get 8-8 and go 500. But I think that it's dumb, just as you had pointed out. Look, the NFL has already dealt with major issues in terms of concussions, not just a movie, but also dealing with the reality that they face, that players do deal with traumatic brain injuries that go way beyond their NFL career. And adding an extra game only promotes a potential ability of getting another career-altering or life-changing injury that these guys are now more susceptible to. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like putting players of any athlete or of any sport in a sense where they could be at more viable risk of getting an injury that could change their lives. So that I'm not a fan of. If the players are for it, though, that's on them. But as a media member, I understand the ability of having an extra game to cover and also the money being made by big markets such as ESPN and Bleacher Report and companies are reporting on it. But I am not a fan of it.
I got to give a shout out. It's been 2 years since the loss of the great Nipsey Hussle here in LA. So much love to just everything that he did, everything he stood for. Guy, were you a Nipsey Hussle fan?
Yeah, big fan, man.
Okay. What's your favorite project?
Well, I don't want to sound like recent, but like Victory Lap was definitely a classic. And it's funny because I just tweeted a few days ago. I was like, bro, like Victory Lap I was telling people don't get it confused because I know a lot of people have this perception that Nipsey's album is a classic because he passed away or whatever. But I'm like, no, that album was a classic before none of that stuff happened. Like it was nominated for a Grammy for a reason. Yeah. So I actually have Nip's memorial newspaper like hanging up on my wall because I was out in LA at that time. So I was able to get one of those and stuff like that. So yeah, RP to Nip, man.
No, yeah. So that just that's my favorite album, Victory Lap. So production, 1500 or nothing, killed it. I can't believe Cardi B beat him for best rap album at the Grammys. Come on.
Nonsense. Nonsense.
I mean, but to be fair, and this is the same thing because I felt this way about Travis Scott because Travis Scott is also one of my favorite artists, but Cardi B really had the media going crazy. Like,
I know. Yeah.
Like I was in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, like Cardi B was everywhere, bro. So it's like I can't even be mad that she won because she really was being promoted to a crazy.
Look, just because it gets bumped in a club constantly, does that mean you're going to go out of your way to listen to it on your own?
Nah,
what are you more likely to listen to? All of Victory Lap, cover to cover? Like that's the thing. Michael will tell you. Michael, tell him about my last year rewind on Spotify.
No, yeah, it was so random. It was like, who'd you have on there? He had Jimi Hendrix.
It was Jimi Hendrix, Mac DeMarco, James Brown, Nipsey, and then the Beatles.
Yeah,
Nipsey is so random.
I know, it's so random.
James Brown and Nipsey and Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, and Mac DeMarco. That was my top 5 listened.
I'm like, what type of life are you living for that to be your top 5?
And you know how it is. Go out to the club, enjoy myself, smoke a little bit on the balcony, do my thing. I'm gonna redcon that so I don't put that out on air. Having a good time. Just listening, vibing. Like, of course, man. Come on, and Double Up. I mean, I know I'm going to sound like such a freaking fanboy and such an average person by saying Double Up's my favorite, but the production value for the song and the video, as a guy and you'll get it, Gowie, as a content creator, the appreciation for great videos goes up tenfold when you start creating them yourself. So watching that music video, the way they shot it, using the drone footage going side to side, also using a similar shot, but just changing the actual arc of the shot itself. Like, it's beautiful masterpiece in and of itself.
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate Nipsey Hussle, especially that song in particular.
Classic track, classic album. Forever my favorite Nipsey track is that Keys to the City one on America. That production, flawless. So, hey, man, we thank you so much for joining us, man. You got to plug your work, man. Tell everybody where they can find you at, Gowie.
Hey, well, first of all, I want to say I appreciate y'all for having me. This was definitely fun, great conversation. And to anybody that wants to find my work or anything that I do, it's Da Kid Gowie on everything. So whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, it's DAKID GOWIE, and you'll find me.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Gowie,
what's up?
I want to ask you one last question. And that's for the people who are tuning in that want to be content creators or are going down that path.
Mm-hmm.
If you had one piece of advice for people who are now entering the content creating space or people who have been there that are trying and see No light at the end of the tunnel. What's the one thing you would tell them advice-wise?
Advice-wise, I would tell them originality wins. A lot of people, they kind of just copy each other's waves, and yeah, they can get hot, but to have longevity in this game, you really just got to be able to give people things that they've never really seen before, or put your spin on things that they never seen before. And I think that's what makes me stand out amongst others, because there's people with millions of followers, but people, every time I'm in public, people are like, yo, there's a lot of basketball influencers, but you the one that I really like turn to and think is hilarious. And it's because I just bring a different dynamic with my stuff.
Yeah, and hey, I'm letting you know now, Gowie, that you top 5 and you not 5, bro. So keep you're doing a great job, and you know,
hey man,
we see the work, we see the growth.
Top five. You're there. Don't worry.
Hey, I appreciate y'all.
We're proud of the growth. So, Himes, get us out of here with this outro, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. This has been the latest episode of Don't At Me with Michael and Alex. Today, we've been blessed with an awesome guest, the Kid Gowie, straight from Sports Me, straight into the universe as the LeBron James Challenge victor, the man who is now leading a podcast with the one, the only Joy D'Angelo, who's the biggest Russell Westbrook fan on the planet. The Checkup, which you can check out on the Blue Wire podcast. It's been an awesome episode, guys. And as usual, check out Michael's content. That is Michael the PG, Michael the PG everywhere. Myself being at Himes LA, HYMES LA everywhere. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out everywhere on social media. And if you do love seeing more spoof parody videos, do yourself a favor and go check out the Kid Gowie's content on YouTube, social media, everywhere. Do yourself a favor.
Hey, peace.
We got serious for this episode ending. That's how we do it, baby.
Yeah, hey, we killed it, bro.